Hi, my name is Salah,
And this is Brian.
and we're here to discuss something very serious.
The effect of big businesses on the environment. Peabody and BP are one of the major world companies who pollute the world, but they're not the only ones to blame for this mishap. Because we are the people who shouldn't take this and do something about it and stop the pollution.
Test 1. Oil disaster experiment.
Now light it. State your name, occupation, and why you're here.
My name is Jeffrey Kellogg, more commonly known as Mr. Kellogg. I'm a teacher at Summit Academy, English teacher at the high school, and I'm here because I care about the environment.
First question. Do you have any knowledge of oil spills? If so, what is it? And where did you get it from?
The knowledge I have about oil spills is the knowledge of the Deepwater Horizon accident in the Gulf, and then the Exxon Valdez accident, which happened obviously many years before that. I got it from, I suppose Exxon Valdez I would have learned about in school, and Deepwater Horizon, I was a young man when that happened, so I learned about it on the news primarily. And there's still lots of news stories being published about that today.
Okay. Second question is, how do you feel about this?
Well, as I just said, I still read about Deepwater Horizon, and I suppose one of the more recent stories has been that maybe the cleanup wasn't as successful as they initially thought, and maybe BP, the company responsible, didn't really hold up their end of the bargain as far as cleaning it up, and a lot of the dispersants and other chemicals they used, have caused serious ecological problems or problems for people's health, people who came into contact with them, etc. So I suppose it makes me a little mad, mostly just sad that that happened, and yeah, the question was how I feel about it, right? Okay, a little mad and sad for the people who were negatively impacted.
Yeah. The third question is, do you have an idea or a solution to stop this?
I mean, I can't really say I know enough about the reasons to say what could prevent it. The only thing that really comes to mind is in a lot of these cases, maybe, criminal liability for executives at a given company at a certain point would seem to me to become appropriate once you've caused so much damage to an ecosystem and people's lives in many cases were harmed or ruined by this event. Specifically, I'm talking about Deepwater Horizon now. It seems to me at a certain point, you have to make it hurt for the company to do this, and since it's a corporation, in this case with a ton of money on hand, those sorts of penalties aren't really going to bother them much, but at the same time, if you could put someone in jail at a certain point, that would seem to me to be a strong deterrent.
That's true. But thank you.
A deadly fire, a drowned platform, and an oil leak the size of Houston.
The largest oil spill ever was caused by Iraq, which released about 240 million gallons of oil into the Persian Gulf during the Gulf War in 1991.
A report made by the National Research Council states that 85% of the water's pollution can be blamed on oil released by airplanes, as well as recreational boats and oil runoff from land. The National Research Council knows that there are long-lasting devastating effects on marine life caused by oil, but they plan to learn more about the damage.
Say your name, occupation, and why you're here.
These answers are provided on behalf of my father, Larry Vedder, who is an environmental scientist, and I am here, and he does what he does because he cares about the environment.
First question. Do you have any first-hand experience with oil spills? If so, please provide a brief synopsis of the event.
I do. I have responded to over 1,000 oil spills in the last 25 years of working. They've ranged from small oil spills in basements for people getting their oil resupplied to large oil spills ranging from 10,000 to 30,000 gallons in a harbor in Maine. They're a little bit tricky. Small oil spills are not such a big deal. A small oil spill on the surface of the ground can be cleaned up easily. Oil spilled in water is pretty tricky. Oil is less dense than water and lighter than water, and it will travel to the point of least resistance, and it will travel horizontally. So water and oil don't mix. Oil in water leads to the death of plants, leads to the death of animals. It doesn't really affect humans if it gets into the groundwater because our drinking water comes from reservoirs and from deep aquifers. But if it does get into the groundwater, it can travel to the source where animals drink from and leads to death.
Second question is, do you have any ideas or solutions to stop the oil spills from occurring?
Sure. Well, oil won't spill if you don't use oil. So less of a dependence on oil will certainly help. More regulation. A lot of times companies will try to sidestep regulation or will not have regulation because it's less costly, but that can lead to problems. For home oil use, many people have oil tanks underground. If it is underground, you don't know if it's leaking. It could be a slow leak that's been happening for years and that then can get into the groundwater. There's a movement to have more oil tankers placed above ground. That's a good start, but ultimately I think less of a dependence on oil will naturally lead to less oil spills.
The third question is, what are your personal feelings about the oil consumption and the oil pollution?
Well, people certainly want to be warm in the winter, and they need oil for that. People certainly want to travel and get to work and get to where they need to go, and the reality of the situation is we need oil for that right now. I do think that we need to look more into green energy. It is the future. No one knows for certain how much oil is in the ground. We do know that it is a finite resource though, and that it will disappear eventually. I think that companies that are involved in oil spills do need to be held responsible for that. If they sidestepped regulation or they tried to cut costs and there is a major catastrophe, such as the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, then those responsible should be held responsible. It could look like they are responsible for paying the people who are affected by the spill, paying the workers, cleaning up the habitat, or potential jail time.
You can't cut it out.
I can cut it out, but this conversation is already worthless. Just go.
Come on, no.
No,
Start
just
it over.
go.
I need the
cut this
fresh.
out.
I need the freshness.
I can cut this out.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
You never cut anything out before in your life.
I cut it out.
Occupation and why you're here.
I am providing answers for my father, Larry Vedder, who is an environmental scientist. I'm here because you want me to be here for your project. I don't know why I'm here.
You say why you're here because you care about the environment. That's
You
what
didn't tell me to say that.
That's what. State your name.
Can't do this.
Why?
I'm sorry.
Second question.
I look pretty good, right? Check out. Look at the guns. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Collins.
She's right there.
I was too high. Like it's only.
That's why I was trying to put it down a little.
Listen, I just want to take this moment to show off the kicks that people are wearing today.
Hey, come on, though.
I mean,
there we go. Boy.
Yeah.
We're good.
These are the slaves 48.
That is so